Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. Critically important. There's no doubt and clear bipartisan agreement that the 24-25 FAFSA rollout was an unmitigated disaster. At a time when there is significant skills gap and workforce shortages across the country, families across my congressional district were left high and dry as they attempted to budget and plan for post-secondary education. Despite years of preparation and millions of taxpayer dollars spent in getting the new FAFSA up and running, the Department of Education under this administration once again failed to deliver for American students. As we approach the release of the 2025-26 FAFSA form, nothing I've seen or heard from federal student aid inspires confidence that the system is fixed. So my first question is for Ms. Emery-Harris. In your testimony, you noted how the department did not notify FAFSA applicants when changes occurred to their aid eligibility after they submitted their form. Can you discuss the impact of this lack of transparency and communication that the department had on students?
Happy to. It's important for students to know how much federal aid they can expect to go to college. College is expensive. And because of that, Pell Grants and federal student loans are often the key to enabling students to go to college. If students get an inaccurate estimate, then they are left high and dry. They don't know how much they can expect to get from the federal government for support, and it makes it very difficult to know which college they can afford. And unfortunately, in this situation, financial aid offers from colleges ended up being delayed because of the department's delays in processing. As I had mentioned earlier, the department was very late in processing financial aid forms, and as a result, colleges were not able to provide financial aid information to students when they would accept a student, they would typically tell the student how much aid they could get. That did not typically happen in this situation. And unfortunately, some students were in the position of having to commit to college by May 1st, which is the typical national college decision date, without getting financial aid offers in advance, which was just very, very challenging for students, especially those who are low income and need support from the federal government.
And this will be a problem anytime, but obviously right now when real wages are down about 4% and inflationary pressures on families, I couldn't think of a worse time for this resource to not be readily available. Were there students who received a financial package that inflated their aid eligibility and therefore will see less aid this upcoming year?
That was true for a number of students, and our concern is that they may not know that their aid will fall off in future years because of that error this year.
Ms. Marisol Cruz-Kane, I want to quickly discuss an issue that I hear about consistently from America's farmers as chairman of the House Agriculture Committee, which is the new asset calculations in the simplified FAFSA. While my position on this issue is well known and I continue to push for a fix to this misguided policy, I wanted to ask you about how these changes specifically have complicated the department's rollout of the new FAFSA. You indicate in your testimony that initially FSA excluded families' assets from the student aid calculations, which is how it used to be. In your investigation report, did you observe or find the department had difficulties recalculating the formula by including families' assets, and how did that contribute to further delays in the FAFSA rollout?
So that was one of the initial defects that they found. Our work did not look at the underlying calculations or how that delay in education, how that had a delay in education's processing. I will defer to Melissa in case her testimony did, but I think the bigger problem is the department noted that the legal complexities of the new FAFSA simplification law were a challenge for them. The process hadn't been touched in over 40 years, so it was a big undertaking for them to update the system, but also with those requirements.
I would just add that GAO will be beginning shortly a new study looking at the effects of the statutory changes in terms of who benefited from the formula changes and who lost out, and we'll be looking at the family farm issue in that work.
Family farm, our farm kids are big losers under this change where they went from revenue to assets because farmers are asset rich and cash poor. And I always wonder what the expectation, which asset would the government would expect them to liquidate in order to be able to help pay for their child's higher education and still have a farm at the end of the day. So thank you so much, Chairman.
Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize Ms. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start by thanking the witnesses for their testimony. The FAFSA forum is critical